Jesus IW with his loud microphone. Thank you. It's my honor and privilege to call this meeting to order. Thank you for coming to the October 2021 church conference meeting. At this time, I'll recognize Dr. Lee Childs for our invocation. That's really loud.
Okay. Good to see y'all tonight. I just wanted to walk through a psalm with you, Psalm 133. Psalm 133 is one of the Psalm of Ascent. That's 15 psalms in the psalmistry that as folks would go up to Jerusalem, and of course Jerusalem, you know, was built on a hill, which is always why they went up to. We say up to, and we usually mean going north as opposed to down, but so as they would make their travel for the required festivals or events that they would come to Jerusalem to participate in, then these were 15 ascent psalms that they would sing, they would recite to be encouragement to them on their way to Jerusalem. This one is Psalm 133, and I'm going to read it and just spend a couple of minutes with you. It's one of the four that David wrote as a song of ascent. David writes, "Behold, how good and pleasant it is when brothers dwell in unity." Now we would say brothers and sisters dwell in unity. Verse 2, "It is like the precious oil on the head running down on the beard of Aaron, running down on the collar of his robe. It is like the dew of Hermon, which falls on the mountains of Zion, for there the Lord has commanded the blessing, life forevermore." So the topic of this Psalm of Ascent, as they were going to participate in a festival, was an encouragement for them to be unified as the men and women, the people of Israel. It applies to us today as the body of Christ. And let me give you a passage out of the high priestly prayer, John 17, where Jesus begins to pray for those 11 disciples that he had been discipling for 3 years. And then in that prayer turns to pray for those who would come to know him as a result of the ministry of those 11 disciples. And in 17:20 he says, "I do not ask for these only, but also for those who will believe in me through their word, that they may be one, just as you, Father, are in me and I in you, that they also may be in us, so that the world may believe that you have sent me. The glory that you have given me, I have given to them, that they may be one even as we are one. I in them and you in me, that they may become perfectly one, so that the world may know that you sent me and loved them even as you have loved me." So Jesus picks up on this same unity theme for the believers. Now, David compares this unity in verses 2 and 3 to two different things. Verse 2, unity, it is like the precious oil on the head, running down onto the beard and on the beard of Aaron. What's he talking about? Who was Aaron? He was a high priest. What did the oil symbolize? It symbolized his consecration, his holiness. Anytime they were consecrate someone or pour oil, it was an indication of their separateness for the service of God. So the psalmist is saying unity between brothers and sisters is like consecrating us to be set aside for the purposes that God wants us to be. The second is, it is like the dew on Hermon, which falls on the mountains of Zion. Hermon is a mountain in northern Israel. It's very high, and year-round usually is snow-capped. So when the dew, a heavy dew, would fall on Zion or on Jerusalem, it could very well have a white tint to it and look like Mount Hermon would look like when there was a heavy dew. So what did the dew do? Say that 3 times. What did the dew do for that land? Well, in the drought, it provided water. It was another way of daily nourishing. And so he's saying unity for brothers and sisters. Christ would say unity for the church is like the fertility and the nourishment that we need. What for? For life everlasting. So unity, even in the Old Testament and for us today, unity between us as brothers and sisters in Christ is very significant for the purposes that God calls us to. So. If you'll text our friend, tell him to come on. Okay. Nikki had to slip away, so she asked me if I would update you. Of course, you've got the report in your hands, hopefully. She is indicating that Wednesday night activities include mission friends as well as CIAs for our 1st and 5th graders. She gives you a list of the past activities for this past quarter. Most of those, a lot of that centers around the VBS, which everybody I've talked to says that it was an extremely successful VBS. Would you all agree with that? So that's a great thing. I think we're working and planning on some of those young folks who received Christ during that time. December 12th, we're setting as kind of a baptism day. Many of them kind of wanted to be baptized by Chris, and we understand that, so that's the first available Sunday. So hopefully many of them will follow up with what God did through VBS on the 12th and make that a public testimony for everybody. 14th of August was a splash of summer. Wednesday night activities kicked off. Upcoming events is the Hocutt Farms Fall Gathering on the 23rd. She indicates bring a chair. Then the 30th is a trunk or treat. We're promoting that and asking folks to sign up on Sundays in the worship folder, so make sure you're participating in that. And then December 10th is a children's Christmas party, 6:30 to 9. So that's her report.
Good evening. How are you all tonight? Good to see you. You're supposed to say it's good to be seen, right? It's good to be seen, yeah. So I just want to start out and say that I continue to be excited about our worship here at Neill's Creek, and that Lee and I genuinely, from the bottom of our hearts, are excited to continue to worship here every Sunday. And I feel like I say that every time that we have a conference, but I feel like it needs to be said that we want to be here, and that we enjoy being here, and that we enjoy being a part of our family at Neill's Creek. Our choir is working hard on our cantata, and we are looking forward to sharing that with you on December 19th during the morning worship service. Remember, our theme for Advent is the light of the world from the light on the hill. So we're looking forward to sharing that with you. I have met twice with our homecoming committee thus far, and plans are solidly underway for a meaningful worship service at homecoming in November. Lee and I printed our special guest invitations for homecoming. We sent special invitations to former pastors and former ministers of music and people who the homecoming committee wanted to send those invitations to. And so we printed those. Janet sent those out this past week. And I have gotten the worship bulletin for homecoming already squared away, and I think it's going to look very nice. The cover it may be something that you just want to sentimentally hold on to, because the cover is going to have a pen sketch of our campus, of our entire campus. So I came over to the school one day and took several different pictures, and one of the pictures was kind of angled like this, and so you could see the Family Life Center, you could see the fellowship hall, you could see the sanctuary, and Lori Gardner is in the process of making a pen sketch of that campus to go on the cover of the bulletin. So it'll be a nice sentimental thing, and plus that bulletin will have a lot of information in it, and hopefully it'll look very classy, because that's just how we do things. And so it'll look very nice, something you'll want to hold on to. It'll be a bulletin that, and I'm trying to get the word out and spread this to everyone, but there's not a separate bulletin for our worship in here and then another bulletin for our worship out there in the Family Life Center dedication. It's all one inclusive bulletin. So make sure to take that with you when we go from here to there to continue worship in the Family Life Center. Our next homecoming committee meeting is a brief meeting just to give as many eyes to look at the program itself, because I want to make sure that that's as nicely done as possible. It's going to be on Halloween on October 31st, right after the worship service in the ladies' parlor, just to give them a rough draft of the bulletin and say, look at it and make sure there's no name misspelled or something out of place or what have you. More directed toward the music ministry, I have started an app that I used to use with my students. It works very well for communication. It's called Remind 101. I don't know if you've ever been a part of that app or not, but I set one of those up for the music ministry. And so that's just another way to try to communicate through Facebook, through phones, through emails, and now through Remind 101. So just to try to get the word out for things like upcoming events, anthems, choir practices, etc. And I think that one of the things that we try to do as a staff is to try to convey to our family the goals that we have as a church staff for our church. And hopefully those are goals that we share collectively as Neill's Creek. And I make it a personal goal each week to try to minister to you through music. And sometimes I talk about the meaning of a song or the words of a hymn or why those things are important, so that we don't just go through the motion of singing the hymn, but you really think about, what was this person thinking when they wrote this? Or where were they in their life? What were they going through? And so I really hope that through the worship service, through choir practice, through Facebook messages, through all the things that we do as a staff, I genuinely hope that you can sense the Spirit of God moving in our church. And I hope that that's something that you will take and share with others to come and worship with us here at Neill's Creek. And the last thing, it's in what I do, I think a little different than youth or children. Sometimes it's very easy for what we do in the music ministry to be the show. And I never want that to come across as a show. I genuinely want everything that we do, from the organ and the piano to handbells when we have handbells, to the choir, to soloists, to whatever it is, I want that to be, it is my desire that those are genuine moments of worship and not for my glory or Furman or Gladys or the choir or Pastor Chris or Christian, or nobody's glory except God, because that's why we're here, right? And so that's what I try to do in every way that we have in our music ministry. So do y'all have any questions? Oh, I write a note down here. The turnip salad is still in the field, okay? And there's a lot of it, okay? I can't stress that to you enough. So please come get some, because I'm going to have to cut it up with a lawnmower so it'll come back, because it's just getting too big. So please come get some turnip salad. Any questions? It's called Remind 101. And it's a wonderful app. Like if you wanted to use it for your Sunday school class, you could, whoever your teacher would be, could download that app, add the phone numbers of the people who are in your Sunday school class, and then send out a remind and say, hey, we're not meeting today because of COVID, or we haven't met for the last 2 weeks, we are meeting today, or any homecoming committee, we're meeting today, or, anything. Any other questions? Awesome. Thank you.
Hey everybody, I am going to, as usual, do a high overview of some youth stuff, some outreach stuff that we've been doing recently, and then I'm going to skedaddle, as some would say. So over the past few months, especially in the summer, our youth had, honestly, just probably the most high activity, high engagement summer out of the 3 that I've been here, at least from my vantage point. Every week, or just about every week, with maybe 2 to 3 exceptions out of the whole summer, we were doing something, sometimes multiple activities a week. And so anyhow, all things considered, especially in such uncertain times that we're going through with COVID, I am super pleased with what our youth were able to accomplish throughout the summer. And in a lot of those activities, we were meeting new people just about every week. And that is just such a wonderful thing for our youth, and something certainly to give glory to God for. These days, over the past few weeks, our youth, you guys know I kind of like to, at these meetings, at least give you a little bit of insight into what our youth are learning and going through on Sunday mornings and Wednesday nights. And so for the past couple of weeks and for the next few, as I was kind of considering, what do our youth need to hear right now? We have a new makeup in our group. The folks that are coming on Wednesday nights, a lot of them are folks that I've never met before. And so as I kind of examined a lot of things that youth are going through right now, I was just overwhelmed with what I was hearing from them. Everyday peer pressures, everyday stressors, feelings of isolation and loneliness and these sorts of things. So I've devised a youth study, and the topic I'm just calling it, or the series I should say, is called What Do I Do When? And over the past couple of weeks and for the next little bit, we're going through different topics. So tonight we're going through the topic of what do I do when I feel alone? A couple of weeks ago, we went through one that was called What Do I Do When Someone I Love Has Passed Away? And so we're going to go through that with kind of attempting to provide a Christian framework for ways to wrestle with these issues that are very real for our students that they're facing every day. So that is what our students here at Neill's Creek are learning and wrestling with for the foreseeable future. And once again, kind of just to do a very brief highlight of some of the things coming up. We're hoping to have our annual youth camp out at the Stevenson's house. We're targeting the date of November 12th. For that, if all goes according to plan. We would love if the trajectory remains okay and continually looking up for COVID. We would love to do a youth lock-in here at the church. Normally we try and do that early December-ish, really just to cap off the year. So again, we'll announce more as we get closer to that, but that is our hope. This fall, we are starting back up our Rennie Youth fundraiser, and we'll include a little information about that in the bulletin, but by now, I think everybody here who's, been involved with our youth in some way kind of know how Rennie Youth works at this point. So upon request. If you or somebody you know has a project or some work that needs to be done, maybe it's raking up leaves in the yard, maybe it's something more serious, we would love to help, and any proceeds that we raise from that will go towards our summer camp. We're also in the process right now of reviewing some possibilities for winter camp. I would love to be able to take our youth on a winter retreat since we didn't get to go on one this past year due to COVID, and so we're looking at a couple of different places for that right now. Quickly, on the outreach side of things, each month we've been doing what we're calling just neighborhood outreach events, prayer walking neighborhoods, going door to door. We've tried to do those on the last Sunday of each month, though this month we'll actually be doing it on October 24th, so a week before that last one, and we're going to be going to Jack Marley Park. The reason for that is really because of Fall Fest being that following Saturday. We just want to be able to advertise for that as best we can. We also just got in today our shoe boxes for Operation Christmas Child. We'll be rolling those out probably this Sunday. And this year, you'll see in a bulletin insert we'll provide, this year we're actually going to offer multiple different ways you can participate in Operation Christmas Child. So we've realized that some folks would prefer just not to have their own box and fill their own box, but somebody might just want to donate $20 and have somebody else go shop for them. If you'd like to do that, we'd love for you to. If you'd like to just purchase toys or some items that could go in a shoebox but not have to worry about the stress of actually filling a shoebox itself, we're going to have another option where folks can just donate, and we will sort through those things and package them in respective shoeboxes. So anyhow, we'll have a variety of options for that. And then finally, I guess last couple of things, like last year, our outreach committee is going to sponsor a Christmas tree lighting event on the evening of the Hanging of the Green service. I think last year that was a really good way just to jumpstart into the Christmas season, and it's also a great event to invite folks from the community to. We're going to have, hot chocolate and snacks and singing hymns and Christmas carols and that kind of thing, and it's just a fun time. And finally, our outreach committee, I think, it's the evening of the Hanging of the Green service, which is November 28th. And our rain delay is the following week. I think that's going to be December the 5th. And then, Jason, tell me if I'm wrong, but I believe we're pretty close to having some Neill's Creek Baptist yard signs available. And we are just going to make those available to anybody and everybody. If you got a yard where you'd like to advertise for our church, we would welcome you to take a sign and do that at a place of business, something like that. And anyhow, we'll be giving those to you pretty soon. Any questions or anything I can answer about youth outreach related stuff? Thank you very much. Yes, sir. Yes. That's right.
Unfortunately, whoever owns that corner doesn't really take care of it that much. If we're gonna put signs there, I would say we need to go up there on a regular basis, just to get the weeds out.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my thought.
I think that's a good idea, Ken. I think that's a very good idea. And, I don't think that's not a bad idea as well for something youth to do just on a Saturday morning,
It may take 15 minutes.
That's right. It's a good idea. Anything else? Thank you all very much.
Don't you wish he had half his energy right now? Finance report. That's kind of a staff report. Everybody got your little finance report there. Did you pick that up today? I'm going to do about 3 or 4 things and then just take questions. Total receipts for September were abysmal. Now, we had a lot of folks on vacation. We had a lot of folks that were out for one reason or another, but collections were $17,000, and we need somewhere north of 24 to 25. Now, for the year, knock on wood, we're still in the black. We have collected $251,000 for the year, and we spent $231,000. So we're about $19,500 in the black, but that will go quickly as we get to the end of the year with many of the activities that we do heavily laden in October, November, and December. So if you might have missed a Sunday or 2 or 5 or 9 or 10, you might want to consider catching up if you can, Alex. I'll catch that later on, but it was good for the moment. As far as the overall spending, there's no major areas of concern. One of the things that I like to see, as odd as this sounds, is that we've overspent on our janitorial supplies. That means the church is being used. That means that we're actually having to go and purchase more things because we have to clean more because we're here more. So that's one of those items that when you see that, you know we're doing what we're supposed to do because we're having to clean this building and make sure that it is presentable for all of us. Overall, we've spent 60% of our total budget so far for the year, and we've collected 65%. So as long as we stay plus 5%, we're usually pretty good. Any questions or concerns about this month's report? And that also represents the third quarter as well. That was way too easy. Now we're moving on to committee reports. Are there any committee reports to come before us tonight? I know y'all represent lots of committees, so if you got something, just stand up and say it. Don't be shy. Ken? Please do.
I had no intention of saying anything, but today was a great day for the tutoring program. Campbell students were gone. They were all leaving today, going home on fall break. Carol and some other people came in and helped us out, and the kids were wonderful. And we had such a great time. But the reason I'm here to say anything is that y'all made it happen. That building over there is a godsend. And we are so excited. I mean, we've averaged 8 or 9 kids every day, and sometimes as many as 15. And that's when it gets kind of scary because you're running out of people to help them. But we've had such a great response. And if it wasn't for the support of this congregation to go ahead and build that building in the height of a pandemic that we didn't even know if we could get it open, but we did. And everybody deserves a pat on the back and a God bless. Because it was pretty doggone good. Thank you.
And if that's not chapter 7 of this book, I just don't know what is. You still have to teach that, by the way.
I brought those there in case somebody wanted to take one as they're leaving.
Excellent.
So, and the directory is sitting next to it if they want a directory as well. So.
Who's got their directory? Got yours, got yours. Well, look, take one for the family, one for the family, one. Marshall, I know you take 3 or 4 every year. Any other committee reports? I know we've got a couple of different groups here. Anything from the women's group or from outreach? Family Life, you know who you are. Yeah. So if you want to participate but don't want to decorate, bring your car anyway, and we'll have youth bring some supplies out and decorate your car for you. That's for all the folks that might be online. Excellent. And that's on the 30th? Excellent. I would be afraid to open my trunk for the general public. Are there other reports to come before us tonight? All right, hearing none, we'll go into old business. Is there any old business that we might have missed putting on the agenda but nonetheless needs to be discussed? Well, that was easy. Any new business that we might have? Hearing none, it's time to move into section 7, and that would be the pastor's corner. Lee, come and give us some words of wisdom, sir.
You see the report that I've tried to model. Since this is my first attempt at doing this, I kind of pulled it together. And I think it's always good that our purpose and mission and themes are always before us. So we've included those for your review and look. And our sabbatical goals are still as valid today as they were when we put them together and started the sabbatical. So that can become and continue to be a prayer point for you as we lift up Chris and Melissa as well as us and pray through. So y'all can read those things, but I just wanted to touch bases on reviewing the third quarter. We had 4 new members, and you see them listed there, the Fortner family, and then Danny Birch, for a total of 12 new families, new people for this calendar year, 2021. And we lost Miss Faye and Miss Judy this past quarter. And so those are listed for your information. Upcoming worship, you're going to see these themes, again, following along with our flickering lamp study. Christian and I are splitting up each one of those chapters as we go through. We are looking at ending that series on November 7th as kind of the final call, or I'm sorry, the 14th as a final sabbatical sermon. On the 7th, we had talked about scheduling a group meeting that night and processing what each of the groups have gone through. But with some of the COVID and interruptions, I doubt any group's going to be finished by that time. So I'm suggesting that we're going to put that off to maybe December 5th and hold that on December 5th. I'm suggesting that we got to clear that through with Chris and everybody else, but there's not going to be much of a need to do that on the 7th of November as we originally had planned, because again, not very many groups are going to be completed with the study by the 7th. Like I mentioned, December 12th, Baptism Sunday, cantatas the 19th of December, and then the 26th would be the year in review. You can see some of the upcoming events that are going on for the rest of the year, and those are there for you. I will, just from a personal note, I'm having a great time being with y'all, getting to know you and getting to know your system. You know, every church has its own, hopefully God-created system that if you really want to participate, you got to kind of get a sense of what that system's like. And so I've enjoyed understanding your systems and plugging in and operating. I mean, this is a system, if y'all know what I'm talking about. But I'm very encouraged. I have found nothing but great men and women, boys and girls that love the Lord. And I truly believe have a deep desire to be the church that God would have you be. And so I'll tell you again, but I just count it a privilege to be able to be part of what God's doing at Neill's Creek Baptist Church. So thank you for the opportunity you've given Babs and I to be part of you for a short period of time. Some people may think it's a long period, but it's really a short period of time. So thank you. Any questions or any comments or anything?
I've been watching this on my phone. It's kind of interesting to see me on TV. It's much better to see y'all on TV. Are there any announcements to come before us tonight? Any updates? Anything we missed? Hearing none, does anybody have any reason why we ought not to adjourn? All in favor of adjourn, say aye. All in favor of not adjourning, you lose. Thank you all for coming tonight. Devin will be pleased. We're done by 7 so they can have choir practice on time. Thank you all. Floyd, Tracy, as always, thank you for what you do.